Diggs coming back to the Houston Texans. Lots of questions in the comment section of my YouTube channel about that. We're going to have Joe Mixon speak on that in just a second. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of TheLead Houston, where it's all Houston all the time. You won't find anybody with more passion speaking about your favorite Houston sports teams than this guy right here. Astros, Rockets, Texans. I try to do it all. So go down in the comment section. Let me know. Do you think Stefon Diggs will be back on the Houston Texans this following year? Or do you even want him back? I know there is a lot of fans that are not entirely high on a Stefon Diggs considering the injury he had, and do they want him back next year? A lot of people are kind of hesitant to it. We got Joe Mixon. This is coming from Aaron Wilson's Twitter account. We had a lot of exit interviews, lots of people in their locker and everything. It's clean out day for the Houston Texans. And Joe Mixon was asked by Aaron Wilson as well as some other people, but wondering, is Stefon Diggs going to come back to Houston? Joe Mixon gives you a little peek behind the curtain and a little bit more. Really good answer here. Really good content from Aaron Wilson. Let's hear Joe Mixon and his thoughts on Stefon Diggs being back as a Houston Texan.
Play with Stefon again with what he added.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, Steph is a great teammate, first and foremost. Since day one of really me personally trying to recruit him, really texting him and having conversations and, just telling him hopefully we could get together in Houston and bring a Super Bowl there and things like that. I think that we definitely was on the same page. Obviously, my guy just got hurt, but I mean, it is a business. I mean, that's the unfortunate side of it. I hope that obviously he's back, locker mate again, and when it comes down to it, I'm sure, he's gonna do what's best for him, and same with the team. But obviously, selfishly, I think that all of us is gonna welcome Steph back with open arms. You know what I'm saying? So definitely look forward to it, man. And I see how he attacking his offseason program and his recovery program, and he's doing a great job, man. So I think that he's definitely on track with becoming better and obviously returning from his injury, man. So I'm just excited that he's back on his feet. He's happy, and I'm sure he's gonna probably want to come back here. He got unfinished business, man. So hopefully take that into consideration.
So we got Joe Mixon there talking about Stefon Diggs. I think the biggest thing there is he gave you a little peek behind the curtain. He tried to recruit Diggs in hopes of bringing a Super Bowl here to Houston. And hey, I mean, I loved it. I loved when they did this trade. I thought, okay, look, they're making a legitimate move. Yeah, could you have drafted someone at wide receiver? Oh, my goodness. You could have had Brian Thomas Jr. instead of Stefon Diggs. Oh, well, it is what it is. The move was made. I enjoyed the move. It showed to me that the Texans are going to consider themselves as a legitimate threat for a Super Bowl run. That's what they did by adding Stefon Diggs. It didn't go out the way you wanted it to. He ended up getting hurt, and you didn't have him for the rest of the year. Sucks, because you could have used him in that Kansas City Chiefs game. You could have used a healthy wide receiver group for the first time in DeMeco Ryans' tenure, a healthy wide receiver group that has not happened in back-to-back years in the playoffs. So it is what it is, but Joe Mixon, I think the biggest takeaway there is he mentioned right at the end, he feels like there's some unfinished business here in Houston, and maybe that he can sway him with that kind of topic of conversation. Look, do I want Stefon Diggs back? I don't mind it. I like Stefon Diggs. I like what he brings. I like that he's a chain mover. I like that he gets first downs, and he has intangibles that a lot of other players just don't. He definitely is a leader, and he is nothing what the national media tried to portray him as. Guy that is going to show some sort of cancerous ability and divide the locker room, and that just never happened. He was a professional since day one. Joe Mixon talking about him already working hard on his comeback to hopefully the Houston Texans. I would not be opposed to bringing back Stefon Diggs. I would not. It depends on the money, though. If Stefon Diggs is looking for $20 million, and buddy, I'm so sorry. It's not going to happen. If you're looking around 12 to 15 million, that to me is the sweet spot for a Stefon Diggs return. And that is where I would just end right there. That would be the negotiations for me. 12 to 15 million. You're coming off an ACL. You're a bit older. I'm not quite sure. I am just not going to give him that $20 million contract. 18, I'm not doing either. 12 to 15 is fine for me, and then we can keep it moving. If you don't bring back Stefon Diggs, look, even if you do, you already need a wide receiver. You got to operate like Tank Dell is not going to be back this following year because of the injury, the very devastating injury in Kansas City in the regular season. So now you got to look at getting a wide receiver regardless. Diggs would be a really good counterpoint. Someone, again, star, chain mover, chemistry. Him and Stroud look pretty good together, but you got to do something else. You can't just stop right there. You got guys like Joshua Palmer out there and Elijah Moore that no one's really talked about, still only 25 years old, eats out of the slot, something that I would not mind this Texans team to do. Never had a legitimate quarterback because he played with the Jets and then the Browns. So someone that's an under the radar. Those are two under the radar guys that's not getting talked about a lot. And then obviously, there's some big fish. T. Higgins. If you're getting a T. Higgins, you're not getting Diggs. I don't mind that either, but that's a lot of money. I would love to spend a lot more of that money on the offensive line, draft capital to the offensive line. You can always draft wide receivers too. There's plenty of wide receivers in the draft every single year. There's always wide receivers every single time. A lot easier to find them. So the Houston Texans, they got their stuff on task right now. Stefon Diggs, I wouldn't mind bringing them back. If they don't, immediately got to attack the wide receiver position elsewhere in free agency and bring in a handful of guys. Because Xavier Hutchinson, John Mechie, Robert Woods, I like Robert Woods. I do. I think he was very banged up in the game in the divisional round, and he just played and suited up regardless. But I do like Robert Woods. But if you can improve, you can improve from those three. You can. And it's very easy to do so, and the Texans need to make sure they do, because this is back-to-back years your wide receiver group has been riddled with injuries, and it's only been Nico Collins those years. Divisional round in the Ravens game, only Nico Collins and a bunch of nobodies. This time, Nico Collins against the Chiefs and a bunch of nobodies. Texans got to do something to revamp it. You got some guys in free agency. Let's go make some moves. As always, guys, go Astros, go Rockets, go Texans. You have a blessed day.